Good evening, everyone. And in honor of our gathering together this evening, I am Corey Reynolds. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Personnel. This is a meeting under the heading of the Personnel Committee. And the intent for tonight's meeting through the President is to rename this committee as well as to discuss and select charges for the committee moving forward. With that, I'd like to introduce President Darden Cintron, who will open up the meeting and give us our charges to move forward.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My apologies for not having my camera on. We had to do some rearranging to accommodate the audit committee meeting, and that kind of put me in a situation where I wasn't going to be. I had to run around a bit. So I'm calling. I guess I'll call this meeting to order. And Dr. Reynolds, you know I'm flying blind because I don't have my notes and with me. So please move us forward.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Our next step would be to stamp the time at the beginning of this meeting. The time is currently 5:35 p.m. on Monday evening, January 25th, 2021. And present this evening are President Cintron Darden, along with Vice President Tracy Maris and Trustee Cora Carey, myself, and sitting on as the operator of the meeting for the evening is Mr. Laser Alert. Tonight's meeting, as we stated, is a meeting of the Personnel Committee. It is a meeting to be held in public, but not a public meeting. This meeting is established this evening to discuss the renaming of this committee from the Personnel Committee. Recommendations were made and collected. And at tonight's meeting, we would like to openly discuss these recommendations and vote to move forward. So with that being said, the recommended renaming of the committee to the trustees is renaming it from the Personnel Committee to the Employment Governance Committee. At this point, President Darden, the floor is open for conversation and discussion or any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Reynolds. I'm not visually there, so anyone wants to go before me, they're surely, free to do so.
Are we commenting on the changing of the name right this minute?
Yeah, sure, Ms. Carey. We can start with the name.
No, I think it's a good name. I have no problem with the name. I like that the committee is going to be formed with the people that have been designated in the composition, and I just want us to, when we get a chance to discuss the recommended charges number 3, that kind of makes me need to have a whole lot of explanation why that's in there, okay? Other than that, everything else seems to be okay with me.
All right. Tracy, do you have anything?
Nope. I think it reads well. Yeah. We just have to, I guess, smooth out some certain things, but that's it.
Yeah, I would say I mean, to me, I will say this, Dr. Reynolds, don't be offended. The name doesn't feel warm and fuzzy, but that's fine. But I think it is like straight to the point about, what it is. So I think it seems like we're all in agreement as far as with the name. If we move forward in regards to the charges, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not talking over anyone. As far as the charges, for me personally, I didn't have, I agree with charges, the 2 charges that are there, the first and the second one. Does anybody have any questions or anything to share about charges 1 or 2?
I printed it out. One is review of any employment labor relations and recommend actions. That one goes to?
That's correct.
Okay.
If
Just-
I could ask for a moment to pause, what I think we were trying to do is go down. We were just discussing the name at that point.
Yeah.
Changing the name, and then we would go down bullet by bullet under composition, charges, and then mode of operation. Is that okay with everyone? So this way,
Yeah.
we're not jumping around, and everybody will have a clear understanding of what it is that we're discussing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've already moved on from. I think we've already moved on from the name, unless you want to you have something yourself, Dr. Reynolds, in regard to the name. But I think for the most part, we're good with the name. So, which is why I try to transition us to the charges.
Nope, I will follow your direction, Madam President. So I have no input here at this point. It is, we were discussing the charges. So it seems that point
All
for
right.
discussion with charges 1 and 2.
I would like to ask a question, Dr. Reynolds. Would it be in any way a concern or problem if you were to chair the committee?
Yes, it would. This is supposed to be a board committee, so I cannot chair the committee.
Okay.
I'll chair the committee, but we also need a recording secretary.
I don't record, thank you.
I'm not a good recorder. I'd rather chair than record.
Okay, I'll record. Thank you. So
Thank
Antoinette.
you, Tracy.
No problem.
Thank you, Tracy. I didn't want to chair either, but if I had to choose, I'd rather chair. Thank you.
No worries.
All right. So, Dr. Reynolds, back to charge 1. Does anybody have anything on charge 1, like any, questions or, any comments about the first charge?
Dr. Reynolds, number 1, review any of the employment, labor relations, and compliance related policies and procedures to ensure blank, blah, 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 blah. Now, how will we get all of that information? How will that information come to us? Will it come to us through you?
Are you referring to New York State laws and board policies?
And whatever comes up, it says we're going to review employment, labor relations, right?
And compliance related to policies and procedures to ensure performance with laws. Yeah, all of that. That's a good question.
And procedures and collective bargaining and collectively bargained agreements. Now, just expound upon that a little bit so I can understand it a little bit better, and then tell me how these things will come to the committee.
If I could take a step back, which was my recommendation for going through the document bullet by bullet, I think we would have addressed some of those issues. So I'm going to go backwards and look at the recommended composition that might explain how we would garner some of the information that you are requesting. So if we could take a step back to the composition, the charge of composition is that the committee should be composed exclusively of 3 board members, one of which will be the committee chair and recorder of the committee, respectively. The superintendent of schools will be another member in the capacity of ex officio member, and the superintendent's designee, which in this case would be me or the person sitting in my position, and a maximum of 2 executive council members from each of the following units. One being the Greenburgh Civil Service Organization, the other being the Greenburgh Administrators Organization, and the third being the Greenburgh Teachers Federation. So with that composition, then any items as it relates to the recommended charge of addressing employment, labor relations, and compliance related to policies in New York State law, if it's a concern, would be brought by the members of the committee who are union representatives. Any conversations or any discussions as it relates to what the law states, what the policy states, or what the contracts state can be garnered through my office or through the superintendent. So this way we will be able to have a a collegial conversation and trying to meet or head off anything before it becomes a bigger issue. Does that
Dr.
answer your
Reynolds,
question? Yes, ma'am.
what does Greenburgh Teachers Federation and Administration mean?
The GTF is the teachers union. The
What does administration mean?
The GAO, I'm sorry, that was a typo. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. So it should be 3 bullets. Greenburgh CSO, right? The Greenburgh Civil Service Organization, the Greenburgh Administrators Organization, the GAO, and the Greenburgh Teachers Federation.
Okay. And we crossed out. Okay.
Okay.
I'm glad you caught that because I missed this myself. So under the first, so Dr. Reynolds, can we move on to the charges again? Because she was asking where would we get that? You're basically saying from your office or the superintendent's office directly.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any other questions about number 1?
Just to make sure, because I want to be absolutely sure, Dr. Reynolds. Now, the GTF, the GCO, and the GAO, they will all give any concerns they have to you or the superintendent, and you will see to it that we discuss it at our meeting, our employee governance committee, right?
So this goes back to our initial conversation during the board meeting, where my understanding was the original intent of this committee was to meet in order to ward off any, challenges in the meeting of the minds between the district and the board and any of the organizations, either any of the unions. So my understanding is that any concerns would be brought to the central office. Anything that can be taken care of will be taken care of in its natural state. But whenever there's an opportunity for there to be not a meeting of the minds, then those issues would be brought 2 ways, either from the organization to the superintendent and then to the board, or it can be brought directly from the organization to the board. And then that can be shared with the superintendent, or vice versa. So this would be an open communication opportunity.
Okay, thank you. That takes care of my question. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Okay, the second charge that you have here is recommend action.
Tracy,
Yes?
hello, hold on. I'm sorry, hold on for 1 second. I've been trying, my screen went somewhere else and I couldn't unmute. So I apologize. So, Dr. Reynolds, just for clarity, right, because I know we wanted to make extremely clear, it's this committee body, it's not about any negotiation. So when we're talking about, the things that we will be talking about is policy, right? Those type of things, not any negotiable items. If that's, I guess, do you get what I'm trying to say, Dr. Reynolds, in regards to what are those topics, those things that maybe when the meeting of the minds are not coming together, I just want to be really clear what we are talking about, like what we would be addressing as a committee.
So thank you very much for that, President Darden. So yes, it must be very clear that it is related to policy, procedures, and law, as opposed to negotiation, which was the reasoning for the 3rd bullet there, which tells what it's not, right? So by posting what it's not is excluding any opportunities for miscommunication. So if I could read the 1st bullet, since that's what we're discussing, I'm going to read it in its entirety.
Yeah.
So if you give me a minute, and forgive me, I don't have my readers. Review any of the the recommended charges. It is recommended that the charge of the Employment Governance Committee includes, but is not limited to, review any of the employment, labor relations, and compliance-related policies and procedures to ensure conformance with New York State Education Department laws, board policies and procedures, and collectively bargained agreements, in order to enhance staff experiences, support a positive working environment, and ensure optimal working experiences for all of our faculty, staff, and administration. So you are absolutely right. This is not an opportunity for negotiation or collective bargaining agreement. It is not an opportunity for oversight into the hiring process or personnel matters or anything along those lines. It is really about the relations between the district and our faculty, staff, and administration, and making sure that we have a positive environment where everyone can thrive.
All right, that is great. That is perfect. That's what I had in my head. So that is perfect. All right, thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the second charge says recommend actions to the full Board of Education based on committee meeting discussions. Everyone's okay with that? The third charge is the one that I guess was a little concerning. Do we want to take it out? You want me to read it? It says, ensure that the Employment Governance Committee should not exist to intervene directly in school or department situations, nor manage the interface between personnel, human resources, department, and staff, nor should it provide managerial oversight to the Personnel Human Resources Department, as that is the responsibility of the superintendent and his or her staff. Do we want to keep that, take it out?
I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like it because we're intelligent enough to know that if we have the proper guidance by the administration, that we will not be going into those kind of things. That is why we have a member of the administration on the committee to remind us that there are certain things that we should not be delving into, and they are responsible for making sure that we get only things that we are lawfully able to deal with. And I don't like this particular piece in here because it makes me feel that my intelligence is being my intelligence is being challenged because I'm not going to know what I'm doing. And I'm sure that any intelligent person on the board reading this would know that they have no right to intervene in anything that has to do with the administration's right to deal with the personnel matters, that come up before them. So that's the only thing that bothers me. I just don't like the way it's put in here, and I've never seen anything like this before, really. I've seen a lot of compositions, or a lot of charges, a lot of different things, and I've never seen anything in there that tells us what we're not supposed to do. It's only telling us what we're allowed to do, and and most people think that we should have intelligence enough to abide by those rules and regulations. That's my thing on number 3.
And if I may, thank you very much. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought no, you guys go ahead. I kind of feel, outside this, I feel the same way. To me, charges are things that are actionable, not things that are not action, like things that we don't want to take action on. I think that wording needs to be somewhere. I just don't believe it's charges. Charges is actually things that we'll be taking action on, not taking action on, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Understood. And please know that in the creation of this draft of recommendations, that example was taken directly from the resources that were provided to the committee members as one that was stated to use for reference purposes. So the conversation is held here, and it can be removed or moved or used in its entirety.
I would much prefer to have it removed. I think that we can do this without having something like that over our head. I don't want anyone to come in my face and say, you're not supposed to do this, and you're not supposed to do that. because it's in your composition. I just want us to be able to be intelligent enough, and our administration to be strong enough to give us the correct what do you call it? The correct there's a word I want to use and I can't find it right now.
Guidance,
No,
guidance or direction.
Constructive criticism. That we need. You know, if we go off, if we veer off the wrong, if we veer off into the wrong direction, I pray we have administration that will give us the constructive criticism to bring us back to where we need to be. That's what I'm trying to say. You understand me?
Yeah, well, it is. I believe it's received by us all. So, if I may ask, in an effort to move forward, so far, just in my note taking, I see that I believe we have consensus for bullet number 1 under charges. Yes.
Yes.
And
Don't
then
we?
I
Where
believe,
is
Just use the card.
Yes,
I want to know where you all are.
yes. I'm saying yes on my end.
and in my note
I
taking,
agree.
I noted that we have consensus for bullet number 2 under charges. Correct?
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Okay.
I
And
don't know where all my other people are.
if I'm not mistaken, I believe that we have a recommendation for removal of bullet number 3.
I can only speak for myself, Dr. Reynolds. I don't know where the other 2 people are.
I would take it off as well.
I would take it off, but just have it be somewhere. Don't delete. Like, take it off. It shouldn't be in the charges per se, but that should be something that we, adhere to.
Then if you do that, then you have to find verbiage that's going to touch every committee that we have, so that they know that there are certain avenues that they can't travel. Because I see some of the committees traveling avenues that maybe they should not be traveling because they have no restraints to tell them that they can't go there. You understand, like we do?
Yeah.
So if we're going to,
I see what you're saying. I think you're just asking for equity across all of the committees.
All committees.
Yeah. All right. So we all agreed to remove that non-charge from the charges.
So just recapping what I have reflected here so far, we are in agreement and consensus, unanimous consensus with the renaming. We are in agreement and unanimous consensus with the wording of the recommended composition, with the exception of any necessary edits for typo purposes. And we are also in consensus unanimously with the recommended charges, number 1 and number 2, with the removal of number 3.
So that was all for charges. I did want to ask about adding a 3rd charge. And I don't know how we would word it, but I was interested in a charge that would say that the charge for the committee is to build positive relationships, collaboration between the board, administration, and union delegation. Somehow put that in there, however you want to word it, because I do think that meeting together and working together and discussing random topics together, not random, but policy topics together is going to hopefully improve the relationship and the working relationship and collaboration that we have together. And I think that's ultimately the goal behind all the other verbiage. I think the goal is actually to improve communication. So.
Well, if I may comment on that, I think that should be a board goal, period. I don't think that one committee should have the responsibility of trying to play kumbaya. I think that it's a board problem. The board as a whole should be working on better relationships with administration and within themselves. If you're going to do that, you start putting stuff like that in, then you're going to have to find verbiage for all of the committees. And you're going to have to put that sort of verbiage in all of the committees. Because if that's the case, we all should be working on putting the best foot forward in healing relationships with staff, with administration, with the board.
I know, but this is the reason.
But we're not a administrative board. I mean, committee.
Mhm.
We're out to help the employees, whenever they're in need of help. So I don't see I really don't see the common sense in us as an employee governance committee trying to work on relationships with the administration and the board. It's the union's responsibility to work on relationships with administration and the board and their staff and their constituency. That's how I see it. And in the years I've been working in the district, I may have the wrong idea, but that's how I see it now. But if you all have other ideas and you feel this committee is a kumbaya committee as well as the Employment Governance Committee, I can work with that if you tell me why.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking of kumbaya, but I'm thinking more of improving just communication between, more so I think the union delegation with the board and the administration as well here, but I wasn't thinking of just like kumbaya and everyone getting along all the time. I just meant that it creates a place, a position for us to communicate, as opposed to any other committee that all the other committees don't actually have. This is an actual place where we're supposed to communicate. But I understand. I'm interested to hear what Antoinette and Dr. Reynolds think.
I was gonna say, and I could be wrong again. I've read the charges, but I don't have the specific wording right in front of me. But I sort of thought that the two charges that we have did speak to relations and ensuring that staff is having good experiences in our district, is in a good place, those type of things. So I sort of thought that it was already addressed, but I could be wrong. And I get what Ms. Carey is saying is that, truthfully, I think all committees in general, when you have people coming from all sorts of, the designated, I can't think of it now, but the designated member from the district that works along with the committee, that's always opportunities to, to work together with the board and our community members that join the different committees. So I felt like it was already addressed, but I could be wrong. Dr. Reynolds, I just feel like we sort of touched on that in the charges, but maybe I'm missing something.
If I may offer, I think what you would want in your charge is something that can be measurable, as opposed to what we want the underlying desire to be. While that is really, I think the impetus for this committee is really to create that type of camaraderie and opportunity for conversation. Let me reread the bullet number 1 in our charges, where it's legally measurable, right? So review any of the employment labor relations and compliance related policies and procedures to ensure conformance with NYSED laws, board policies and procedures, and collectively bargained agreements. So what we are allowed to do through the contracts that are established in order to enhance staff experiences, so make a better experience for all of our staff, support positive working environment, and ensure optimal working experiences for all of our faculty, staff, and administration. So again, these are measurable.
Okay.
It's my belief that these are while they are governed by legal documents, we are able to really meet the needs of our personnel, whether they're administrative, faculty, or staff, the best way that we can, while being focused and rooted in the legal documentation that we have.
Okay, so you don't agree with that? I'm just trying to get to, okay, so throw that one out. So we'll only have 2 charges. And next we have recommended mode of operation. And the first is the committee should typically meet up to 4 times per school year via in-person or virtual. However, there may be additional meetings as issues arise that require committee attention. So the only question I have about that is that one of the purposes for having this meeting is that we have an agreement that we meet monthly under the personnel committee. Is this something that can be changed?
This is all up for conversation. It's the board's committee.
No, I prefer 4 times a year. I am booked with meetings almost every night. I don't know how that happened. So I prefer.
So your question is, because the current personnel committee, their charge is to meet monthly.
Yeah.
So this is a revamping of that committee. So you can change anything that you would like to, from my understanding.
Okay, even agreement wise. Okay.
Well, hold on. I guess it wasn't, just to be clear, because I feel like it's something different, and Tracy, Ms. Carey, Dr. Reynolds, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. My thought is a contract referenced the personnel committee and meeting monthly. Dr. Reynolds, are you saying the only reason why that the reference to the personnel committee and monthly is because of how the previous, how the personnel committee existed before? So I just want to make sure that changing not only the name, but what we do and how often we do it, that is fine related to what is actually in a contract.
That would be a question for your attorneys.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, can it be changed? That's the part, that's the only part I'm concerned about. But
all right. So how about we do this? How about we're going to have to get some answers from the lawyers, but do we at least agree if it is possible to change it to 4 times a year, that's what we would do, and if it's not, then we have to keep it to the monthly.
Can I please make a suggestion?
Sure.
I think that, we never know what's going to happen from week to week, month to month. To keep it as it is right now, whenever it needs to be canceled, it is much easier to cancel the meeting than to need a meeting and you can't make it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say? If you say every Wednesday we're going to meet at 5 o'clock, you know that unless it's canceled, we're going to meet at 5 o'clock. If it's going to be canceled, it will be up to you to say we have nothing to do. After you talk to Dr. Reynolds and say there's nothing to discuss this month, then you can say, well, we'll cancel the meeting for this month. If we feel that we are not having much action on this committee period, then you can go to try and change it to the amount of time we have spent on the committee during the previous year. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's better to have the meeting scheduled and cancel it when we don't need it than to need it and not be able to make it. And it could be an important situation that we're throwing to the wayside. Now, that's all I'm saying. You 2 people are very busy. All 3 of you are very busy. I'm the one that has the time, if I so desire to have it. I can lie to you and say I'm a busy person, I ain't coming. But most of the time, I am able to make the meetings. But I'm just saying to you that it's best to have a meeting scheduled and cancel it than not have a meeting at all, and then you try to pull us all together to make that meeting. And it could be an important situation that we really need to take time and discuss.
So if I hear you correctly, Trustee Carey, you're recommending that the mode of operation reflects meetings each month, and then if needed, you would cancel a meeting if nothing comes up.
Absolutely. I mean, that's already in the original composition, right? That we meet every month.
That's correct.
So to change it to me would be more of a hassle than to see what it looks like. Let's see how it looks like. If it looks like we only need to meet 4 times a year, then we can start the procedure in changing it. You understand what I'm saying? But right now, keep it so that we will have it available if we need it.
I hear you. I guess for me, when I think about how we have meetings posted and things like that, I just would hate to, you forget to cancel it, someone shows up, or, just how it looks to have a whole, a list of meetings, and then let's say we do wind up canceling several of them. To me, it doesn't look right to do that. But
all I can say
that's my thought.
Changing something that we need. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I guess we could. For now, I guess we could leave it at 12, and I guess once we get we meet officially, with the full, committee, maybe we can discuss it there, and maybe we might even get more of a sense of what the time may look like. What if we need to do that or not. I think maybe wait till we have the full committee up and we're discussing things, we're talking about things, we're actually, doing some of the work, and we can kind of get more of a sense of how we might need to operate. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, I having been the person who suggested the committee in the first place some years ago, and being the chair of that committee for some years ago, I will tell you we had scheduled 10 meetings a year, okay, because we didn't meet during the summer at all, unless it was a extreme emergency, which never came up. But if you think about it, most likely you won't meet in November and December, because they're very short months, and a whole lot of stuff is going on. Unless there's a real desperate emergency, you won't meet those 2 months. So right there, you've taken 4 months off the table. So I'm just saying that it would be best to keep it as it is until we figure out just how much of an importance this committee has in the scheme of things. Next year, you may decide, we didn't do nothing hardly last year, so let's just make it then you'll have time to change it without too much aggravation.
We seem to have lost Vice President Mayers.
Oh no. Okay. Well, I would say, you know what, Ms. Carey, I will follow your lead on that. Dr. Reynolds, I would suggest. Ms. Carey has moved me to her side. I guess if we could just, set it monthly, and let's see, what's needed and when it is needed, and we can make adjustments, afterwards.
So if I go back to the original wording, bullet number 1 under recommended mode of operation will read, the committee should typically meet at least once each month of each school year. And we will continue with via in-person or virtual meeting. However, there may be additional meetings as issues arise that require committee attention. So interpreting the at least once each month of each school year, that does equate to 10 meetings. So with your agreement, would that be the wording that you would want? Again, the committee should typically meet at least once each month of each school year via in-person or virtual meeting. However, there may be additional meetings as issues arise that require committee attention.
That sounds okay to me, Dr. Reynolds.
To me, let me unmute myself. I'm sorry, Dr. Reynolds. Let me see. I agree.
Okay, so I'm noting it is
And
unanimous.
Tracy says she got kicked off.
She did what?
She said she got kicked off the meeting. I'm not sure how, but that's what she just said.
She able to log back in?
Let me text her and see.
There she is.
She's coming back? Okay.
Vice President Mares, the recommendation for bullet number 1 under mode of operation so far has been agreed upon by President Darden and by Trustee Carey. Will read as follows. The committee should typically meet at least once each month of each school year via in-person or virtual meeting. However, there may be additional meetings as issues arise that require committee attention.
I'm sorry, at least once each month of the school year?
Of each school year.
Thank you. Got it.
Okay. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because I was like, can we? But okay, and I mean, we're almost done anyway with this year, February, March, April, May, June. 5, that's 5 meetings instead of 4, so we're kind of there. The next bullet was the limited agenda should be set by the committee chair, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendent for personnel, and emailed to committee members at least 7 days prior to the scheduled meeting. I actually would disagree with that. Every other committee that I've been on, committee I chair, the committee chair does the agenda and sends it to the committee and then gets feedback, or people send information to the committee chair who creates the agenda and then sends it and then gets feedback. I don't know why we would need to have, how would the chair, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendent all get together? You would have to have another meeting or a bunch of emails going around. I don't know.
Tracy, can you read that one more time?
Sure, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? I don't know.
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you.
The
Yeah.
limited agenda should be set by the committee chair, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendent for personnel, and emailed to committee members at least 7 days prior to the scheduled meeting.
Okay, Tracy, my thought is I've been on this committee prior. That did not happen. I would say what did happen was when I was the chair, the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction and personnel and we would do 2 things. We would bounce ideas around as far as through email. You know what? The assistant superintendent would ask me if I had anything. I would share that. Or the assistant superintendent would share what they had as well. And then I would try to come, and this is when we were live and in person, I would try to come earlier before the meeting so we can just run through the agenda again. But I've never done it I've only worked with the designate. I've been watching The Designated Survivor, so please forgive me. I keep wanting to say that word.
Liaison.
That's what I meant to say. I worked just with the designated liaison in developing the developing the agenda, and I think that's how it worked, with before. I don't think it's rocket science for, to people to come together to say, hey, do you have any ideas for this month? Or, hey, what are your ideas? And come to consensus on, the agenda.
Yes, that's the way it happened back in the day. I was the chair. I met with the assistant superintendent in charge of personnel and curriculum. We were the ones that set the tone for the meetings, and we didn't have the superintendent was hardly, if ever, involved in the overall. I don't know. There's a word. It's dealing with the committee. I think what happened was Dr. Sasha and I can't think of the young man's name. That Corey, maybe you remember him. He was a young black man, came over from Richard J. Bailey. He was the assistant principal over at Richard J. Bailey, and he came over and became the assistant superintendent. And then he left and went to Long Island or somewhere over there. You remember his name?
Nick Sterling.
Yes, Nick
Dr.
Sterling.
Sterling. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I worked with Nick Sterling, and then after him, I worked with Dr. Sasha as far as the committee was concerned. I don't see, this is a board committee. It is not dictated by the superintendent. So the board has the right to say, whether or not they want, this, that, or the other in it. Now, if the superintendent feels he or she's got to be the one, then that's fine. They've chosen themselves to be the liaison. But that's never happened. It's always been the assistant superintendent because he or she was in charge of curriculum and personnel. And there were times when we, as the personnel committee, also discussed certain areas of education that had to do with I don't know how to put it, had to do with personnel. I don't know how to put that right, but anyway. So I think that should be it. I don't think you should have to worry about the superintendent unless she makes herself the designee. So that's the thing. I think we need to take out. I think Dr. Reynolds, on behalf of, well, I don't know. I can't say on behalf of the committee because I don't know how they feel. But I know that I think that there should be a coming of the minds between the superintendent and the assistant superintendent on who's going to be the liaison from the central administration to the committee.
Well, I agree. I would just put it that the agenda is set. I mean, this is kind of, our committees don't go into the detail on who sets the agenda, but I would just very simply say the agenda is set by the administrative liaison, of course, the assistant superintendent for personnel, but the administrative liaison and the chair. Even 7 days prior, that sounds nice. Every other committee I'm on, I don't hear that rule of 7 days prior. Our own board meetings, we get agendas on Friday, Saturday, the meeting's Tuesday, that's not 7 days. So I don't know if we need to have that in there. But I don't know. I definitely think it just needs to be the liaison and the chair.
I agree. I think it should be the liaison and the chair. I believe that's how most of the committees work. And again, I think Tracy is really right. I'm not sure. I just want to make sure also, like what Ms. Carey was saying before, I just want to make sure there's equity across all of the committees. And so let's operate how committees have been operating.
So if I hear everyone correctly, bullet number 2 under recommended mode of operation will reflect the following. The limited agenda will be set by the committee chair and the administrative liaison Just a point of clarification, further above, under recommended composition, we have that title, the superintendent's designee. So is there a recommendation that we use the term administrative liaison and then we can have that reflected in both places?
I think that would be a very good idea.
I have my stuff.
I agree.
Dr. Reynolds, I printed it out, so I might not have it on the same. Where is the superintendent's designee? At the on the very, very top, the first part.
Under recommended composition, first.
Okay. Okay, I'll put liaison. Thank you.
So we'll put
Administrative liaison.
so, yeah, so that wording under bullet 1 will be the superintendent of schools in the capacity of ex officio member in the committee, the administrative liaison,
Okay.
and a maximum of 2 executive council members. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And this way it'll be consistent.
Dr. Reynolds, I'm sorry, what did you mean by a maximum of 2 executive council members?
So in that terminology for the unions would be the president and vice president, as opposed to having a random union member attend.
Okay, okay, I got you. So, but that will be for each representative of the union.
Correct.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the clarity.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think that is it for the charges. So we're done with that.
So at the indulgence of the committee, what I would like to do is just re-edit the original recommendations. I will put down notes in terms of the vote. I mean, everything here is unanimous that will be presented, and I'll send an updated edit to the committee for consideration to the board.
Dr. Reynolds?
I know that Vice President Maris, you are the note taker.
Mhm.
So I'll send it to you.
Or I can send it and you update it if it's wrong. I know you're probably more busy than me, although I'm quite busy. Take a break. Let me write this up and see what you think.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else that anyone else needed to discuss?
Yes, I'd like to say something if you don't mind.
Sure.
Dr. Reynolds, it's a pleasure working with you. You know, I feel so distressed. You know, when I say I'm not stressed, in other words, I'm trying to say I feel so, you know, calm and there's a word that I can't. Actually, there's a lot of words I can't remember because my brain on one side ain't working. But you just make me feel very as if what I'm saying is worthwhile. You know, you don't make me feel as if what I'm saying is. In other words, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it, Trustee.
I'll concur. Okay, so is there anything else for the committee specifically? I don't know, Antoinette, you're the chair. Is there anything else we need to, who's gonna outreach, I guess? That's a question I have, to these 3 bargaining units to invite them to our next meeting, and we have to set our next meeting dates?
I would suggest that be Dr. Reynolds' charge, please.
Me
With-
too.
With the chair, you know, just to let you know what I'm trying to say? Would the chair be
Yeah,
that Dr. Reynolds be the person who would be?
Well, yes, Dr. Reynolds, I agree with, I was just going to say, I agree with Ms. Carey. If you can just, you know, send an invitation on behalf of the chair and the committee and yourself, that we'd like to invite them to our next, you know, meeting. I would say here, guys, while we're here, instead of doing double work, maybe we should pick the next meeting. And then we can, once we're all together, then we can pick additional dates.
I think that's a great idea.
so that Dr. Reynolds doesn't have to run back and forth to say, okay, they're available this day. We're like, if we could just, pick the first next meeting.
Thank you for that consideration. That was going to be my recommendation.
Okay, great. All right, so let's see, calendar here.
And we have, I think we lose a week in February with the break, so.
No, we don't lose one. I gain a week of vacation.
Okay.
That's not a loss in my book.
We lose a meeting week.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so our board meetings are the 2nd and the 9th. And then,
what about for this next one? Maybe the week after, somewhere between. Wait, I'm sorry. 2nd and the 9th. Oh no, it looks like the last week or even the first week. Maybe the last week.
Should we check the calendar for other board meetings?
oh,
For other committee meetings?
Yes.
I apologize.
oh.
Yes, committee. Yeah.
Yeah, we have, well, between us, let's see. You have the education committee for you two, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a CEC in
And-
February. Governance has a meeting in February.
Why don't we try to make it the first week in March, because it is a short month, and it's only less than 15 days. And since we already have about 5 meetings going, maybe we just set it up for the first week in March or something like that. Do we really need to meet right now? I don't think so. Do you?
No. So the first week of March, I believe.
I'm a little anxious about putting the meeting back any further because it's already, that would be like March, April, May. That's like the end of the last quarter of the school year, pretty much. And we haven't met with them at all. We're supposed to meet with them monthly. That's all I was thinking, but if it's going to be too crazy with scheduling.
Well, let me see okay, let's look at the district calendar. Let's see if we can get our hands on that real quick. I'm going into the app. Laser, the calendar is still on the app, right?
Yeah, I can do a share screen if you want me to pull the calendar up and share the screen.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Oh, I love this. Okay, Laser, you did such a good job with this. I just have to say that again.
All right, hold on.
All right, so wait a minute. They have the governance and policy committee meeting on the 23rd of February. We already have one on there.
I'm so
Unless
happy
I'm
you
going
have that.
crazy.
I was looking in my phone trying to find the date. So I'm sorry, you said government and policy is what date?
It says February 23rd.
Okay, so then we can't do February 23rd. And CEC doesn't have anything at all.
You have a conflict, Tracy?
No. What about the first two weeks of February and then sometime in March?
Yeah, but why are you saying no to the one that's already on? Oh, wait, governance and policy is you guys. I'm sorry. I take that back.
I was looking in my phone for that meeting, actually, so that's so funny. What about your education committee meeting, facilities meeting? You guys aren't on that, right?
So the education committee I'm on. So I think we just scheduled a meeting for
recently,
yeah.
like next week, right?
Hold on one second.
Yeah, that's next week, so that's okay.
Laser,
So to me,
does Laser have the dates? Because Laser's the one that would need to be free. That's the conflict issue.
Yeah, I have it up. I don't think, can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
So
So this is
it
everything
looks-
you're booked for with us.
Yeah, and that's everything that's scheduled. So it looks like the first 3 weeks, well, except the board meeting nights, the first 3 weeks of February are free. March is a little. No, March is okay too.
Yeah, community engagement is March 1st. So February, can we do that first or second week in February? The 1st, the 3rd, the 4th, the 8th, the 10th, 11th. Don't everyone talk against?
Just give me a date and I'll work with it.
Antoinette?
I'm sorry. What I was saying was I think that we should try to skip the first 2 weeks. I'm anticipating there may be other additional meetings that need to be placed there.
Okay, so you like the last week in February?
I would prefer that one.
Okay,
The last
so,
week or the week before.
Well, the week before is when it's vacation.
so the last week would, so February 22nd to 22nd, everyone's fine with that?
The 22nd of February?
Yes, it's a Monday.
Yep, that's okay with me. Mondays are pretty good, except for the third Monday in the month.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Antoinette?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm totally okay. I was talking. Yes, I'm totally okay with the 22nd. Dr. Reynolds, if you can send out, something, I wanted to do like a nice little invitation, but that's me. But let's send something out, for the 22nd. Are we okay with 5? Should we go to 6?
5 or
5?
6 is.
All right, 5. Tracy?
February 26th.
Yeah, no, 5 works better for me. Today I just got messed up with the change in time, so I'm sorry, but 5 is actually perfect.
All right, so 5 on the 22nd. Dr. Reynolds, will you or I do the Zoom?
That would be for you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
You're welcome.
All right, I got the Zoom. Okay.
All right, so what
I don't have any.
I will reach out to each of the presidents and inform them verbally first, and then I will send an
Okay.
invitation. I'll actually put something on their calendars to capture it so that they know, and
Okay.
I'll tell them to wait for the meeting invitation via Zoom.
All right.
Anton,
All right,
you
Laser,
creating the
what were
Zoom
you
meeting?
gonna say?
Oh, are you creating the
No,
Zoom meeting?
you're going.
Oh.
Are you saying
Okay.
that you are?
Yeah. So we're live streaming these meetings moving forward.
So
I don't believe this. If I explained it correctly, I believe that Ivy said with how this one is composed, we don't have to.
correct.
I believe, but
My understanding is once we have 4 or more members that are not board members on any committee,
yeah.
then there's not a need to live stream.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
so
not live stream. I don't want any more conflicts like we had today. It was really crazy.
Yeah. All right, so I'll create the meeting. I'll email it to you.
Thank you, Laser. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Anything else? Okay, am I on? No, I'm not on mute. Is there anything else?
No.
Dr. Reynolds, Tracy, Carrie?
No, not for me.
Nope, I am fine. Thank you.
How about you, Miss Carrie?
Fine, I'm fine.
All right. Being there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?